Calamity lore, Supreme Calamitas. So, we don't actually know too much about Calamitas' origins. We do know that it's not her actual name, it's a moniker that was given to her later by Yharim, and she has, or at least had, two brothers who would later be known as Cataclysm and Catastrophe. Both were very protective of their sister, and they vowed to always be there in her time of need, and even in death, they sure hold that point up, because she does sure bring them back. So, the main story starts in the underworld industrial city of Azapure, where an ancient elemental begins to awake, the Brimstone elemental. And people are like kind of excited to see it because it's like something that it's been around a long time, and it's just now waking up. Unfortunately, it decided to start just killing everyone. And this is where Supreme Witch Calamitas makes her first appearance. She rises to battle it head on. Unfortunately, as she wields Brimstone magic, it kinda doesn't go well, and the entire city is burned down and neither of them wins. And interestingly, we find out that this is the first known instance of Calamitas using her powers, and it's likely that she may have gained her powers during this fight, though I'll get more into that in a bit. So, her powers, to be a bit more specific about them, she has control of Brimstone magics that can rival the gods themselves, and despite this, outside of the specific Hellfire and Brimstone magics, she kinda sucks at magic. If she does like slightly complex magic, it'll just explode into flame. Her magic is not godlike in nature, or Yharim would have just killed her on sight, and even Drayden couldn't determine the exact nature of the magic, except he determined it was linked to the Brimstone elemental. And although the power is extreme, it takes a huge mental toll on her, but, after incinerating an entire city, this will attract some people who are seeking to utilize this power. So, this guy named Yharim is on a crusade to kill all the gods. If you haven't seen my other videos, basically, the gods did some bad stuff. And so, he's in the middle of this decades-long war. He's recruited Permafrost the Archmage, Drayden the Engineer, and the Devourer of Gods, even, by this point. However, after witnessing Calamitas firsthand, he knew that he had to recruit her. And so, Permafrost was tasked with mentoring her, and ended up as a sort of father figure as well. He even tried to get Yharim to not send her out to go murder a bunch of people, but he would send her out behind his back. And Calamitas quickly became Yharim's ace in the hole, just a very quick and easy solution to his problems. Like, for instance, the ocean city Ilmaris, that contains the goddess of electricity and the god of seas. And they're actually kind of chill. They're like some of the few gods who are like actually pretty innocent. However, Yharim does not see this distinction. So he decides to test Calamitas' power by incinerating this sea. And although it takes a while, it works, reducing it to no more than a desert, and as Autonalu, the electricity goddess, was constantly electrocuting to try and fight back, which didn't really work. That's kind of why there's storm lions and the constantly charged sea prisms. So, later on, Permafrost, because, Yharim's already recruited, the Devourer of Gods, who's been whispering in Yharim's ear this whole time, and so Yharim is going down a bad path, and so Permafrost decides he's out, he's done, and so Yharim decides I'll just send Calamitas to go kill him. However, she spares him, and used what she learned from him to seal him away in an icy prison, and then Calamitas leaves Yharim's army, because, what's he gonna do, say no? And as far as Yharim is aware, Permafrost is dead. He only figures it out once you, the player, break him out. So, the Calamitas clone has a lot of interesting implications, because Drayden the Engineer was basically hard at work on his nanoplague when Yharim came up to him and made a request. He wants Drayden to replicate the witch's power now that she has left the army. And as Drayden is working on his plague, he doesn't really bother to make much progress until he was already kicked out of Yharim's army for making said nanoplague. And so, Drayden eventually decides, yeah, this would be good for my forges and stuff. And so he starts by making a genetic clone of Calamitas, but it lacked any magic, essentially proving she was not born with magic. And Calamitas herself broke this clone out of Drayden's labs, but afterwards mysteriously gained the ability to wield a fraction of her power, although this did immediately drive the clone insane. So this definitely has implications for the source of Calamitas' power, but it's hard to say exactly what it is. But you can definitely draw some lines. So, this is where the player comes into the picture. After everything that went down with Yharim, Calamitas is just trying to atone for her sins. She has taken a huge mental burden, and she is basically trying to rest, and then some random guy starts killing and stealing their way to power, not unlike Yharim himself, really. And she recognizes the power you wield, and she's like, well, I can't have another Yharim running around. And so she fights you, but during the course of this fight, she realizes she was wrong, and then asks for mercy, which the player actually accepts. And then Calamitas joins the team. Anyway, like or sub,